and welcome to M1 Yarns and the Michigan Makers. I'm Jamie, also known as M1 Yarns, on Instagram, on Facebook, on my website, m1yarns.com, on Ravelry, pretty much you name it. And today I'm flying solo without my co-host Danielle, also known as Danielle Crafts 08 everywhere, which I'll get into the why in a moment. But don't fret, it's just for this episode. She'll be back in just a week or so, and we'll be back with some great content and good times together. So let's get started on what I'm going to affectionately call episode 13 and a half. I hope you have your knitting, your crochet project, and something nice to drink. I'm going to call this episode 13 and a half because Danielle and I recorded a really great episode for you guys last week. It was fantastic. It was probably our best episode yet. And then she left. I started dinner that night. I sat down to edit the video, and sure enough, there was no sound. And after much frustration and aggravation and an hour on the phone with Apple, we could not get to the root of why there was no sound on the iPad recording. So Danielle and I chatted, and we agreed that I would go ahead and record a shorter video for some content that's time relevant, and then she will be back with me when her schedule opens up a little bit very, very soon for episode 14. So I feel like episode 13 got jinxed because it's like, you know, an unlucky number. But anyway, here I am with officially episode 13, but I'm going to call it episode 13 and a half. And if you survived through that explanation, thank you. So let's get started by talking about the sock make-along. If you're on Instagram, we're using the hashtag M1YarnsSock. No, we're using the hashtag M1YarnsSock make-along. Isn't that what I said the first time? See, this is why I need Danielle here to like correct me and keep me on top of things, because I just really can't remember all the ins and outs. But anyway, so this is a sock make-along that we're running from April 1st to September 15th, I want to say. And it is essentially to get you a pair of socks ready for fall. Maybe for Rhinebeck if you're going. If you're going, comment, drop a comment in the comments below. Let me know. Danielle and I for sure will be there. And we're already talking about how we can connect with all of you on the hill at Rhinebeck. So we kicked off the sock make-along in April, like I said, and the first deadline, if you will, for the contest is July 1st, which is, today is Tuesday, June 22nd, so we've just got about a week or so. And that first deadline is to have your first sock complete by July 1st. If you don't have your sock complete, don't worry about it. Just keep chugging along. It's just a pair of socks. As someone put it to me a few years ago when I was reluctant to knit socks, they said, Jamie, it's basically a sweater, but for your feet. It's the same number of stitches, and that really kind of got my brain in gear, and now I am officially a sock knitter. This is my first sock for our sock make-along, and this is a yarn kit that I dyed for the sock make-along. It's an 80-20 base, and the kit provides you enough of this contrast color to knit contrast heels, toes, and cuffs. But I forgot to grab the contrast yarn when I did my Fish Lips Kiss heel. Didn't realize it until I got all the way to the toe. Didn't even realize it when I posted a photo of this sock on Instagram. And Danielle said to me, I just thought you intended it that way. No, I dyed the kit to have enough contrast yarn, and I just forgot. So this is my first sock. I'm already well underway on my second sock using contrast yarn. Of course, I'm always dropping stitches. And so I hope to have the second sock done, I'm sure I will, by our mid-September deadline. But I love that everyone is sharing their photos of their socks on Instagram using that hashtag so that we can see them and share them all with you. And there are prizes. We're going to do prizes now, next week, halfway through the make-along, for that first sock done prize that I mentioned, and we're going to do more prizes at the end. So I do have to get with Danielle and decide how we're going to pick various prizes, because we're going to have a lot of prizes at the very end. Maybe a knit pair and a crochet pair, a shorties and a tall. Who knows? We're going to get creative with the categories. But here are 3 skeins of yarn that are going to be prizes. They're all, well, let's see. These 2 bluish ones are one of a kinds. I was just having some fun, wanting to, create some one-of-a-kind goodies. These 2 are DK, and this is a worsted. I'm thinking about bringing this colorway back to the shop. It's called Copper. I did have it in the shop for a while. I really think it's lovely. So let me know what you think, if I should bring this back. But this is worsted weight. These 3 skeins are going to be goodies that we give away, along with some, if you win one of these, I'll include some extra surprise goodies for you. So if you have yet to cast on a pair of socks, feel free to do so and post to Instagram with that hashtag. So that is where we're at on the sock make-along, and I'll let Danielle talk about her socks when she's back in action. The next thing I thought I would talk to you guys about is, if you have not noticed on my social media or my website, I do have advent kits that have gone up for pre-order, and you can pre-order these technically through mid-August, but I will say I only have so many allotted. I really want to focus on providing a wonderful experience for these, and I only have about a dozen slots left. So if you're thinking about it, you really might want to jump on it sooner rather than later. And this is a pre-order, so if you're not familiar with yarn advent kits, this is like an advent calendar that you might do around the holidays in the winter. And the concept is, at least for this kit this year, I did something a little bit different last year, but this year I'm going to go a little more traditional. You're going to get 25 mini skeins, individually wrapped and numbered. You'll open each one each day of December from the 1st to the 25th. And I do have 3 different kits. All 3 include those 25 minis. And then you have the option, depending on which kit you select. The option A includes the minis and this project, or Notions tote, Notions bag. And these were made by Peapod Threads, who has done some bag collaborations as a nice flat base. Bag collaborations with me previously. So if you've ever purchased one of those kits, you'll know what nice craftsmanship Lisa at Peapod Threads does. And the theme for this Advent kit is the Roaring 20s or Art Deco kind of stuff, because I felt like I wanted a theme, and I feel like with life somewhat reopening now as the pandemic eases a bit, it's time to kick off the Roaring 2020s finally. And so I thought that was a fun, glamorous theme. The other 2 kits, options B and C, have a mohair option. B comes with 1 skein of mohair, and C comes with 2 skeins of mohair, which gives you roughly equivalent yardage when you have the 2 skeins of mohair held with the fingering weight minis that you get from day 1 to day 25. So you can kind of figure out what works for your stash best. With option B, you also get the Notions pouch, and then option C, you get a project bag. And I just got these samples in the mail last week, and I'm so excited to be able to tease them here. But how gorgeous is this project bag? Lisa chose, I selected the fabrics, the main fabrics on each of these. She chose the contrast on each, and I just love it. She has a great eye for detail, And so this project bag comes in option C, and it is really enough for a sweater's quantity. Amazing. I just love this fabric. So that is the M1 Yarns Advent Kit. You can get it at m1yarns.com. And like I said, there's only about maybe a dozen or so kits left for pre-order. So reverting back from winter Advent talk to summer knitting, I'm going to share with you a WIP that I had cast on in April, and then once I did the collar band, I just set it to the side. I just lost steam, although I really do love the pattern. But last week I was knitting on another project, which I'll show you in a minute, and just felt like I wanted to get back to summer knitting. I do have a sport weight organic cotton in the shop. It's called Cotton Convertible, and I had it in the shop last summer, and I added 10 new colors this spring. It's still available, and I had a few skeins left over from last summer, and I'm doing like a little mashup, holding almost like a, what do you call it, a fade situation, one strand of each and then changing things as it goes. This is the Spring Sorel by Woolen Pine, and I plan to knit the original Sorel, which is like a, I want to say DK held with mohair. I really want to knit that in the fall. I've seen so many beautiful versions of it on social media, but I'm knitting this cotton version, and I just split for the sleeves today. I am loving it. So while I am, where's the pattern? I'm holding 2 strands of sport weight together. The pattern calls for DK yarn. So while I'm getting a different gauge, I took that into account. I'm knitting a size down, and so far the only feedback I can really tell you is that I messed up. I started these dip stitches right here too soon. I started them literally on the collar ribbing, where I should have started them down here where that purple changes to like that greenish seafoam. But I decided I like it. I'm gonna just roll with it. And then the other thing, so I am maybe 20 rows, my row gauge is off. Basically I split for the sleeves 20 rows shorter, but I don't mind at all. I'm actually very happy with it. So that's my spring sorrel. I'm really loving how it's going, and if you're interested in making the same pattern or any other pattern with cotton, this organic cotton is just really lovely to work with. I'm not usually a fan of cotton yarn, but it has a really nice silky drape. It feels good in your hands. So I'm really excited. This is my second top in this yarn. My second or my third? Who knows? My other project that I have been working on, although I put it in timeout for about the last week or so, is the Cozy Classic Light by Jessie Maed Designs. And this was mohair that I dyed. It's the Riding on Air base in the shop in the colorway Harvest. I had previously been knitting the Puff Tee by Petite Knit and was not at all happy with it. So I ripped out the yarn, I cast this on, and I'm really enjoying the pattern. The reason I put it in timeout is because I'm struggling to decide if I should do short sleeves or long sleeves. Generally, I like long sleeves a lot, so I need to think about that. Comment below if you have any thoughts that you can share. But I love mohair. I'm really enjoying the pattern. So when I think when I finish my spring sorrel, I'll get right back to it. before I cast anything else on. So if you've been following me for the India Entangled Spotlight event that I vended at virtually a few months ago, I created a new colorway for that and knit up a sample of a shawl pattern that is free by Lisa Overby. It is called the Equinox Shawl, and I'll insert a photo here so you can really, kind of these colors aren't picking up great. Oh, that's a little bit better. I'm happy to say that this yarn is now available in the shop. If you go on m1yarns.com and type in Spotlight Confetti, that's the name of the colorway, that is now in there. And I'm thinking that this would be really cool on mohair or alpaca. I don't know. Let me know what you think. So that was another finished object of late. Speaking of vending, I recently vended at the Tip of the Mitt Fiber Festival in Petoskey, Michigan, and let me just say, it was so great being back in person, seeing everyone, watching people, you know, squeeze the yarn and hug and talk in person. It was just really a delight. And so I'm looking forward to vending in August at the Michigan Fiber Festival, which if you are in the Midwest, I highly encourage you to come out for it. It's August 20th, 21st, that weekend in Allegan, which is not too far from Grand Rapids or Kalamazoo, if you're familiar with those areas. And it is Michigan's largest fiber festival. I'll be there. They have recently reached out to the vendors with some upgrades they did to the festival for this year, and I'm really excited. I think it's going to be a wonderful event. So let's talk about stash acquisitions. It's what we love to do, right? But as an indie yarn dyer, it's not often that I go yarn shopping, and so this was kind of exciting as of late. As I mentioned, recently I was vending at the Tip of the Mitt Fiber Festival in Petoskey, Michigan, and while I was there, I had the pleasure of browsing other booths and meeting other dyers and just being a shopper myself. So I picked up a couple really fun skeins from, I'll show you and then I'll tell you about them. These are from the Miller Girls, and their website is themillergirls.store. These are silk. I lost one of the cards, so, and I'm not sure which one is which. One is 100% Tussa silk. It says Suri silk bits, and I think that's this one. So these are joining some other yarn that I have been acquiring. Let's see if I can get these colors to not blow out. There we go. I've been acquiring some really wild, funky skeins, which is not my usual aesthetic. As you can kind of see, I kind of go for earth tones, but every once in a while, a girl just likes to have fun. So these are going in a kaleidoscope cardie that I plan to knit at the end of the year. I did a scrappy cardigan in January with a collection of skeins that I had picked up from travels pre-COVID, and that was really fun to basically make like a memory blanket that you can wear. So these skeins are going to join some other yarn that I have collected for the last year or so and plan to collect and make this bulky, scrappy, artsy cardigan. So in that cardigan, I plan to use these skeins that I picked up recently in May when I went home to Colorado, where I'm originally from, to visit my mom. And she and I did a little yarn shopping while I was out there. We went to this shop called Woolly Works Studio in, I want to say she's in Peyton, Colorado. It doesn't say, but she's woollyworksknitshop.com. She has a yarn shop in her basement, which sounds crazy, but it was actually really amazing. And this contains alpaca that she has on her property right there. She has, I want to say 6 alpaca, and this is a natural color that is 50% alpaca, 50% BFL. It's DK weight, 250 yards. So I think this will be really fun in that kaleidoscope cardigan with those silk skeins that I just showed you, as well as these other fun skeins that I picked up at yarn shops in Colorado Springs. Let's see, this is Spruce Dragon LLC, and the colorway is called Copper River. It's an 80/20. And then this is by Get Knit Faced in Colorado, who is an indie dyer in Colorado Springs. And this is amazing. I really love this yarn. I'm really kind of jealous I didn't dye it myself, but I think it's going to look amazing in this kaleidoscope cardie. So the last bit of yarn that I also bought while out in Colorado was from Woodlake Woolies. The owner has Angora rabbits, and she is in Elbert, Colorado. Her website is woodlakewoolies.com, and these are 2 skeins of Angora, 100% Angora. Each skein is 100 yards, and this is from the rabbit named Autumn. These are absolutely like butter. I mean, I am super sensitive to yarn, so I only dye yarns that I think are really soft. But these, oh my god, these were a real treat though. If you've ever shopped for Angora, you know what I mean. But I don't know yet what I'm going to knit with these. So if you have any suggestions, let me know your thoughts. Yeah, I don't know if it would be fun to make a hat or a cowl. Who knows? I'm not really quite certain what I want to do with it. But I do know that they are just amazing. On previous episodes, I talked a little bit about sending my scraps to Little Fern Fibers rather. And she does art yarn spinning of your scraps and then sends them back to you. So basically, you can send in like a sandwich size Ziploc baggie full of your scraps. This was the first one I got done, and these were literally scraps, tiny little balls and little bits and bobs that I'd had basically shoved in a corner or in jars or in project bags for years. Gorgeous. This weighs, or it's 28 yards, 3.42 ounces. And then this was the second skein that she spun up for me. I love it even more. It's fun really seeing like the colors from your previous projects really encapsulate your aesthetic, because this is totally me. And then I pulled together some more scraps to send to her, and I now have a third skein, which I did not have on the last episode. So to make a long story short, I now have 3 of these babies, and these for sure are going in that kaleidoscope cardie, and I think it's going to look amazing. Honestly, like, I just want to fast forward through my other projects so I can get to this, but I'm not letting myself knit this until the end of the year because it's like a capstone. So check out Little Fern Fibers. She spins amazing stuff. And it's great to clear your scraps out of your house. And then, have it as something that you can use. So thank you for joining me. That's really all the content I have for today. But I wanted to zip through that so that when Danielle is back with me on the next episode, we'll be able to focus on other stuff together. So stay tuned for that. Also, real quick, I just wanted to mention, since you are here, that now on my website, m1yarns.com, I do have a separate page linked for our podcast where you can link to the YouTube channel. You can also link to what's really new and exciting, that is merch for our podcast. It includes our new logo, which if you follow us on social media, you've probably seen this really cute cartoon of Danielle and I. Not cartoon. What's the drawing? You get it in the street. Anyway, it's our logo. See, this is why I need Danielle. I just can't think of the word. Caricature. There we go. We have lots of merch in the shop now, and feel free to check that out. And thank you for joining me for a solo episode. It was not as much fun without Danielle, so I do look forward to having her back. But thanks for joining me, and I hope you all are well. Go knit your socks, post about it to join the make-along, and we'll see you next time. Bye!